Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by CartKing.com. CartKing.com. That's 877-986-7771. I wonder how many people have that phone number memorized by now. I know I do. That's cart-king.com. There's a little dash between the cart and the king. It's CART-KING.com, CartKing.com. Now, have you ever thought about going into the mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe you want to sell baseball caps or flowers or coffee, snacks, those cell phone accessories you see. You see them everywhere now, in every single mall, everywhere in the country. Right now, I was the first guy to do that, by the way. First guy to go into a mall and sell beepers and cell phones from a kiosk in a mall. That was that was like 2000. Yeah, well, it might have been 1999. No, what am I talking about? 1989. 1989, 1990. Gadzooks, I'm getting old. CartKing.com could be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee, food, carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. So if you want to add additional revenue by putting a little coffee cart down there in your lobby of the office building you manage, bring in some extra bucks. But you could bring in a ton of money, too, from coffee sales, man. It's like the markup on that stuff is insane. It's a good business, man. I had a little coffee business, too, for a while there in the hospital over here. Anyway, CartKing.com. So you give them a call. You look at the website, cart-king.com. You check out the different styles and models that they have. Give them a call, 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. And then what you do is... they'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and they'll ship it worldwide. Got a brand new sponsor. Want to welcome almightygold.com. Contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. If you want to invest in gold, but you don't have enough money to buy a whole ounce of gold, 2 ounces of gold, a whole bar of gold. Forget a bar of gold is like, what, $100,000 now? You can buy as little as 1/10 of a gram of gold. You can start investing in gold right now tonight. Go to almightygold.com. And you could purchase these little carat bars, these little tiny slivers of gold that are embedded in a plastic credit card with all kinds of, security, threads on it, and one of the things called watermarks, all kinds of things on it. So it's verified there. And they can even store it for you. You don't want to save it in your house. They can store it for you in a global savings vault for secure keeping. Then ship it all to you at once. You have these little small increments of gold. If the old crap hits the fan, you got some gold to barter with your friends and neighbors there. Buy some bullets. Right? Buy some beer and vodka, man. Just go down with the ship. If you want to get into the gold business too, contact us at almightygold.com, and they can become an affiliate of almightygold.com there and start selling some carat bars yourself. Make a little money with your friends and neighbors, or your website, your Facebook page. Work from home. Work at home moms. They got a cryptocurrency thing coming up. The currency of the future. It's a cryptocurrency backed by gold. almightygold.com. And go, okay, great. Welcome back. We're joined now by Peter Pisani, who's the daughter of Geraldine Defeo. Now, you might recall we just did a show recently about the Amityville horror. And I got a message from Peter Pisani here, who was really kind of upset. He's kind of upset about the way the story's been told and the way the story's been portrayed. He's extremely upset with the authors of these books here, and he has the first-hand inside information that he wants to share with us with no cutting, no editing whatsoever. Peter Pisani, are you there?
Yes, hi. Thanks for the opportunity.
No, thank you so much, man. Thank you for contacting me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience, too. I had a lot of problems with the dentist and all kinds of stuff, and I left you hanging there a few times. So thank you very much for being patient with me and rescheduling. I really appreciate that. Now, tell us about yourself. Who is Peter Pisani?
Okay, well, as you said, my name is Peter Pisani. I'm a 43-year-old who grew up under the shadow of Amityville. As a young child, I was somewhat thrust into it. My mother in the 80s had married Ronald Defeo, the Amityville murderer. So at that point on, my mother had helped this man through the years promulgate various tales. I got to assume there was monetary compensation. I don't know offhand. I was a kid. What I do know, though, is that the story is still being told and retold, and it's being billed by these gentlemen as true stories that they're telling. And they're just not. I was there in the time frames they're describing, and I 100% will say that the tales told by Rick Osuna and the night the DeFeos died, and his partner, on again, off again, Ryan Katzenbach of Catco Media, who made the movie, the series known as Shattered Hopes, based off of that book. In my eyes, they're just making money off of dead kids, to be blunt.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. Now, you say your mom married DeFeo in the 80s. How old were you?
Now, you know, my mother, if we were to dig into her, and many, many people have, you'll come to find she has a lot of paperwork. I'm not positive if she married him in 85 or 89, or if they married in 85, divorced, and remarried. I've heard it told that way as well. But the earliest that I can attest to is 85.
And how old were you at that time, though?
In 85, I was 10.
10 years old. Okay, and she married him while
Old
he was...
enough to know.
Yeah, right. And she married him while he was in prison?
While he's in prison, while she's married to my stepfather, who's still surviving, Gerald Gates. My mother was a serial bigamist. She would marry and not get divorces.
And how many times was she married? Because you sent me a list of names. It had to be about 10 names.
My mother married my own father 3 times documented, so that's just my dad. And she married my father while married to the gentleman that is my sister's real father, Fred Corey. The order went Fred Corey, Joseph Pisani, Gerald Gates, Ronald Defeo, back to Gates, back to Defeo. You know what I mean? But as far as actual marriages documented on paper, she had at least 3 with my dad.
Did you ever run across the name Opperman? Was I ever married? Probably not, right? Okay. All right. But now, how did she get a hold of Ronald Butch DeFeo while he was in prison? She started writing to him? How did that happen?
You know, that is one for the ages. I have been trying to figure that out my whole adult life. How does one actually get to the Amityville murderer and start a relationship? I mean, I must assume, I know that they corresponded on paper a lot.
Right.
He called a lot. I was forced to talk to the man as a child and call him Dad.
Really?
Yes. My mother at times when my mother did not have custody. In fact, some of my earliest memories are of sitting outside of various correctional facilities in New York State while she was having conjugal visits with the man. And I was sitting there with my stepdad. He was fully complicit in all of this.
Oh, my God. So, wait, so your mother had a thing where she would marry inmates?
He was the only one that I know of.
Okay.
That was the only inmate that I know of. I got to believe my mom was kind of trying to get money out of the guy or his family. I mean, I know that. I'll tell you truthfully, I have pieced together on my own what happened talking to my older sisters for, before we all had our falling out.
Oh, let's hear
it. To be blunt, her and DeFeo had this idea. Now, DeFeo, being convicted of capital murder in New York State, cannot make any money off of the murder, okay? So he's not getting royalties from the 20-plus Amityville flicks. The people associated with him are, and my mother was married to the man. What it boils down to is if Ronald Defeo had a living descendant, they could get the money. And originally, they wanted that descendant to be me. In the original Newsweek article that came out about my mother and his marriage, I believe it was attested to that they had a male child. And I, at a very early age, wouldn't play the game. Well, my sister Stephanie would. So that's where Defeo having a living daughter came from. And from there, they created a whole backstory going back to the 70s. And all of my siblings, except one, was complicit in this.
So you're saying
and that, in turn, wound up being books and movies.
So you're saying it was a whole ruse, that Defeo is really not the father of your sister?
Listen, my family is, I mean, it can be pretty well pegged that my family's Italian on both sides.
All right.
And my mom ran the longest con in New York history. It just wasn't documented. It's still going. Rick Asuna's still selling books. Katzenbach's still selling movies. So that con, we're looking at year 40 of that con, year 30, you know. This has been going on since the 80s.
Well, but the thing is, now, if she hooked up with Defeo in 85 or 89, like you said, isn't that after the movies came out?
Certainly is. What the book, The Night the Defeos Died, does is it gives you a, I know to be totally fictional story about my mother marrying Ronald Defeo in the 70s and hiding my mother's family from the mafia and all sorts of really interesting tales that are exactly that, tales. My mother was in upstate New York all during the time in question, according to these books and movies.
Okay, so you're saying that in this movie, The Night the Defeos Died, but I think I saw that movie on TV recently. Is that the one they had some, I think what's his name was on there, that Sorvino, right? Was in that movie?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
That's the one.
I believe that's the one. They also had Ed Asner in one of the movies. I mean, again, it's an interesting story that people were interested in, and you know, Hollywood makes magic, and writers write. Good story will sell. You're talking to me right now.
Yeah, but you're telling me that in the movie where they show that your mom lived with Defeo, she never actually lived with Defeo in a house because he was in prison already when she met him.
Never. One of the things that really upset me, is it's in writing in one book, and there's a reenactment, I believe, of my mother being in court for Defeo's sentencing.
Okay.
The date of that being, I believe, December 11th, 1975, 11th or 12th in 1975. Well, that would be 2 days before I was born. You're lying.
Yeah, right. She'd be pregnant there about to bust, right?
Yeah, well, these people are they're even using my image to sell the movies. And they sold me for saying their movies are frauds.
Yeah, now what happened with that? Because that's really the main reason why you contacted me, right? Because you heard the other interview I did. Why don't you correct? You had some problems with Miss Kaplan, who told her story, but you have some difference of opinions. What is your position on what do you find wrong with her account?
For me, it was. I mean, truthfully, it's just a line or two. She stated that the man I have the biggest problem with, Ryan Katzenbach, she stated that he had a lawsuit against a website discussing Amityville and that they backed out and that he won. Well, no, the lawsuit was against me and unnamed does. He never even filed against those people. Mm. That right there, and nobody backed down. Federal cases tend to be public info. You can get this. The case was dismissed against me with prejudice.
Now, is it possible she was confused and thinking about a different lawsuit?
You know, it's possible, and I'll give the benefit of the doubt. But again, Ryan Katzenbach suing a website only happened, or anything close to that only happened once.
Okay.
He said he was going to sue the website. In fact, his exact quote against the website, his blurb on one of his web pages, his one Facebook page, was that him and his lawyer friends, for every $50 he spent filing against these people, it would cost them thousands to answer. He's a very braggadocious, spiteful man who now can't be found.
Now, what was your name? What was going on in that website that had him upset? First, you remember the name of the website? What was it?
You know what? I'll give him a little plug. It's the Amityville Truth Board. You can find it as you Google it, or the Amityville FAQ as well.
Okay.
What his issue was he was a member of that website, and the people there, they're fans of specifically Amityville. Specifically Amityville. That's all this website deals with, is the Amityville murders and hauntings and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, the inconsistencies of his movies and stories were picked up on by these, I hate to say it, but horror nerds. You know, these are people, they're clicking away. They love this stuff. So they had the facts, and they would find his inconsistencies. And then he started threatening them with libel, slander, defamation. Well, after a period in time, I actually entered that website and started speaking. And when that happened, he became litigious. That's not the correct word. He started suing people, to be blunt.
Right.
He started threatening lawsuits for years. And then finally it hit with me. Because as it's stated by one of the people on that website, if I wasn't telling the truth, that his stories are bogus, that my mother fabricated a tale for gain somehow, you wouldn't have bothered with me. I'm just some weird guy talking on a website.
All right. But you were like the big name because you're related to your mom and you're related to the case. Supposedly this guy, Defeo, is your father in some capacity, stepfather or whatever.
They tried to peg him as my father.
Right.
I said, no, I know who my dad is, you know. It went so far as to I myself, at my own cost, tried to set up very early on. I said, we could squash this all right now. Give me a blood test with my sister. If the blood matches, Defeo's not her father. It's really that simple. Let's just do this.
Yeah, nowadays that would be very simple to do too. Now, what was his actual complaint against you when he filed this lawsuit? First of all, how much money how much damages was he seeking?
It was either $5 million or $5 billion. I don't have the actual lawsuit anymore, but at one point, I think for just one line, he was knocking me $1 million. He hit me $1 million in one line for calling him a fraud and a charlatan because I was ruining his ability to make money off of the product he worked so hard over. All I did was say it's not true.
Right,
That's all I did.
That was his big complaint. Now, do you still participate in those message boards?
You know, I'll be very candid. I only rear my head when something pertaining to me pops up. Something near to me, because as far as I'm concerned, there's a real Defeo family left out there, and they have to deal with this. And there's the Lutz boys. They've had to deal with it. Then there's me. I've had to deal with what I've had to deal with it, all based on Ronald Defeo's actions. But I don't purport to be knowledgeable of anything except what I saw, where I was, who my mom is,
right,
who my siblings are. This man came out. Now, my mother passed away, and they're reissuing the book the night the Defeos died. So I popped my head back into the website. Hey, I'm here, and if Rick Osuna's seeing this, we need to talk, buddy. Because, again, you're discussing my family, my life, and using my image to sell your products. You don't have that right, and your products are fraudulent.
Now,
it got to the point where these people turn off comments on their Facebook posts. If you were to YouTube Rick Osuna's latest video and revamped website, you'll see the comments are off for his YouTube video. Nobody's allowed to say he's not telling the truth.
Let me ask you, when did your mother pass?
My mother passed 3 years ago. It was 2016.
And how was your relationship with your mom there toward the end? Did you guys reconcile all this, or still at war?
My family is, as I discussed, very Italian and very vindictive.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me my mother passed away. My father showed up at my door in tears to tell me. I was not invited to the service, and I was told my mother's dying breath was cursing my life.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Because I turned on the family.
Yeah. Now, were they still making money from this at the end there, all this 3 years ago?
You know, the movie was sold. The producer of the movie sold his rights, I'm understanding, to Stars and Reels, the cable television network. So there's money there. And the book was never out of print. You could always order it on Amazon. So there's money there. You know, I don't know who's being compensated or how. I just pretty much don't believe that my family did this for fun, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Someone's making money.
Peter Pisani, let's take a little commercial break, okay? And we'll be right back in about 3 minutes. We're here with Peter Pisani. He's telling us this is the guy, man. He's the son of Geraldine Defeo, who married Ronald Defeo, the murderer, the convicted murderer. There's no doubt about that. And he's a stepson, you know, that's all in question. But this guy knows the inside information. So we're going to get back with more of Peter Pisani right after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal.
Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all those kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Peter Pisani. He's the son of Geraldine Defeo, who married Ronald Defeo, the murderer there, the original murderer. He murdered the Lutz family in the Amityville horror story. So now, Peter, you've been around this whole thing your whole life, since 10 years old, the last 35 years, whatever, right? Now, what do you think happened that night when Ronald Defeo murdered that family?
You know, I was told, let me put it to you like this. I was told when I was a child that Ronald Defeo killed his whole family. There was no haunting. There were no little flies whispering, kill, kill, kill. I think he got in a drunken brawl with his dad and just lit everybody up. It's really that simple. And my take on that is due to the reason that, as I started to say as a child, I was told a story that George Lutz went to Ronald Defeo and said, "Hey, I want to make some money. You get an insanity plea and you get out, and I get to sell books and movies." And they cooked up the tale of a haunting and what have you. You know, I've never been in the house. My mother sure has. My mother, as a child, had a lot of pictures of the interior, and in fact, they used photos that I know came from my mother's collection on various websites to sell movies and books and what have you. But as far as that night goes, I believe Ronald Defeo got in a drunken brawl with his dad and snapped out and killed his family. Because remember, at the end of the day, we're discussing people making money on the backs of dead children. And that really sticks in my craw because you threw me into it. You know, that's the life I was given by my mother and siblings.
And who told,
as an adult,
okay,
I'm pretty upset.
And who told you this story about the Lutz and approaching Defeo?
That came from my mother.
From your mom, okay.
That came from my mother. I mean, again, I was a kid. Of course I was inquisitive about it, you know. When the movies and such started coming out, you know, especially the ones dealing with my mother's fabricated tales, I had to live with that. So I had questions. Why do I got to talk to this guy? Why do I have to ingratiate myself to this guy? You know, I was 10.
Yeah, what were those conversations like? Because it's not comfortable talking to anybody. I talk to people in prison all the time. It's not a comfortable situation. Because you're in your mind, you're thinking about what they're going through over there. It's not a fun conversation. What did you guys talk about?
Well, in retrospect, I remember he knew a lot about me, which at the time, okay, the guy, I'm a kid. I'm 10, I'm 12. I'm talking to the guy, and he knows a lot about me. And it didn't faze me. It was just like having a conversation. He was my stepdad. I'm told I have to respect this guy. I have to talk to him, you know? It was no different to me than talking to my other stepdad, because remember, my mother didn't believe in divorces, apparently.
Right. Now, were you still living with your stepdad when you were talking to the other stepdad? Or no, were you living with your real dad when you were talking to the stepdad on the phone?
Well, truth be told, my biological father had custody of me.
Right.
And my mother and that side of the family had access to me anytime they wanted. They could see me anytime they wanted. You know, we lived about 30 miles apart at the time. And he was there. My stepdad was there. You know, when I was with my mother's side, my mother's side of my family, you know, with my older sisters or whatever, he was right there. He knew all about it. He would drive my mother to conjugal visits at Attica and all the various other lovely facilities New York has to offer that rap guys sing about, you know?
Yeah.
I'm 12, 13 years old, and I'm spending my Saturdays sitting there looking at Greenhaven Correctional or Marcy Correctional, you know, after a 3-hour drive, just so my mother could do what she had to do. And my stepdad, he drove her there.
And when they would go home, would they go back to the same bedroom together and sleep together that night?
Yeah.
Oh,
perfectly normal.
Okay, listen, I'm not here to judge anybody. Now, let me ask you another question. You know what I mean? Let's, you know, especially the dead. You know, people, you know, make their own lives. You know what I mean? And somehow they justify things in their head. Now, what about you mentioned that your mom had all these pictures inside the house. How did she get inside the house to take pictures?
She was legally married to the She was legally married to the guy, and I'm assuming she went to the current owners and said, "Hey, I'm Geraldine Defeo." I'm guessing for maybe a little taste of notoriety or just a tale to tell at the country club, and let her in, you know. I'm sure there are times she was there with actual movie producers and authors to lend credence to this. You know, a little bit more weight. You don't buy the Amityville and expect not to get weirdos at your door.
Yeah. Now, what about there's been so many Ghostbusters and ghost hunters, all types, who claim, oh, no, there's ghosts in their hills, right? Have any of them contacted you and said, hey, you know, Peter, let me tell you, there's really ghosts in there?
You know, I let people ride their vibe. I've gotten a lot in my inbox.
Okay.
Through the years, personally, I don't know who, you know what I mean? That's a tough one for me, because I've heard from a woman who married the guy who did it. It was all just a little money maker, you know. At the same time, unless somebody straight up says to me that they saw a bleeding red room, because that room, no, didn't exist apparently. Right. You know, unless, hey, I'll believe you. You know, they say that it was on an Indian burial ground and what have you. And who knows? I live real close to the native folk in upstate New York, and who knows? You know, they have their ways and their demons too.
Now, okay, the Amityville story is probably one of the biggest. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows. You know, you say Amityville horror. Everybody's going to know what you're talking about. The house. They know the Lutz, the Defeos. They know all these names. Now, so this is a big. If this was a scam, right? Like you're saying, and your mom and Defeo pull this thing off. Was your mom involved in any other kind of smaller scale scams that you're aware of?
Yeah. My mother was incarcerated when I was younger, herself. The FBI has come to my door as a child. I remember the FBI coming to the door to ask my grandparents or my dad about other things having to do with my mother, because one of the things that a good liar does is there's always a kernel of truth in the lie. And so when they discuss, you know, my mother's family, you know, having certain connections with Italian gentlemen of ill rapport will say, you know, that there's some reality there. So my mother's always been on a lot of radars, but she pulled a pretty big hustle, and I believe in 1979. That's actually one of the items used in my defense when saying you're making all this up. No, she was in Broome County Jail in 1979. Google exists. Look at it. Yeah, she had a history of it. It was always moving on to, there's always an angle. There's always a hustle. There are always hangers-on around her willing to give her a couple bucks. You know, when I was a kid, one of the reasons I was not too jaded was my mother had money, man. I was when my mother actually acted as a mother, anything I wanted was there. You know, my mother's hustle was so good that off the back of Amityville, she was able to purchase a video store in a small Pennsylvania town. That's how good her hustle was.
Hey, you mentioned
just off the way to Amityville.
You mentioned she was in jail in '79. Do you remember what those charges were?
I want to say grand larceny.
Okay. Maybe she stole all those videos she was renting out. Right? We better look into this, man. Right? She never returned them. She was renting them from other stores.
Thank you for making this fun. This could have been gut-wrenching, but thank you.
No, this is a great story, man. But now, okay, now let me ask you this now. Has there ever been, besides what you're telling me here today, has there ever been all these Ghostbusters and all these types, you know, everybody's obsessed with this armchair detectives, right? Has anybody ever uncovered all this stuff about your mom, about the bigamy, about marrying him in prison after all these things took place? And has anybody ever uncovered any of that?
Yes. Actually, the website I plugged earlier, the Amityville FAQ or that's the Amityville Truth Board would be the easiest way to find it on Google.
And
they found, I mean, I don't know who these people are, right? Stop and think about this one from my angle. Here's these anonymous people who live behind a keyboard who I don't know who they are, but they're pulling up my father's, when I was being sued, my inbox started zinging. Here's your father and mother purchasing a house 2 weeks before you were born. Here's that indenture. Here's that piece of paper. Here's your sister's birth certificate. Here's your birth certificate. Here's your father's certificate of marriage from your mother in Virginia in '73. Yeah, a lot of people know about this. And that's what made Katzenbach to go batty, is he was called on it. Here, look at this. They literally fabricated, their defense on this was that the people literally hacked the New York State database and was planning false paperwork.
Oh, really? Really? That's a good one.
And the best part?
Yeah.
This was said in the lawsuit. It's in the thousands of pages that were filed against me, buried, that I and the other Does, people of influence, who he could never name, the Does, you know, we were planning paperwork in New York State's databanks. That's how ridiculous it gets.
But this has never come out in a book or a documentary or a film or anything. None of these facts about your mom, the multiple bigamy.
I have never collated it. I've been asked about it a lot.
Okay.
You know, it's never been collated. I, at one point in time, was talking to an author, and then I decided, you know what? I don't need my guts ripped out anymore right now.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that was going on was when Ryan Katzenbach was addressing me publicly at the very beginning, he was attacking my girlfriend at the time. She was dying of scleroderma. I literally lost my job because I was served at work while my girlfriend was dying of scleroderma. And then the owner of the pizza joint I worked at started talking to the movie producers because he wanted 15 minutes. Like, this truthfully has been a really terrible experience for me. This is the first time I'm ever telling people, hey, look here. Hey, look there. The facts are out there. Don't waste your money on this dribble. If you want a good tale, listen to it. Just go into it knowing it's fiction.
Entertainment.
Don't
If you want to be
believe
entertained.
this is true.
Yeah, I'm not going to go watch the Amityville Horror and change my life. It's entertainment. You know what I mean? You go in there to enjoy it. Now, what about with this lawsuit? Did you actually have to hire an attorney and put up a defense?
What I did was I let the man. He kept filing paperwork.
Okay.
So after a year of filing paperwork, and I still hadn't hired a lawyer, the judge started getting upset because I was not, like, again, for me to defend myself, I'm in New York. I got to fly to California. And if I lose this, I have to pay his legal fees and give him the millions upon millions of dollars. So I let him keep filing and filing and filing. And finally, the judge got upset and said, hey, you need to show cause now. It's time. And the man quit filing. So I never even had to show up. The judge just dismissed it outright with prejudice.
So you never responded to his complaints and his emotions even once?
No.
Did you show up at court?
I was never, or excuse me, no, I did not.
Okay.
I believe I was ordered to appear once, and I did not. I will say that. I did not. Because the guy told me, he put it in a big Facebook blurb, I'm just going to keep filing papers so Peter has to spend money. Peter and this website have to spend money to respond. That's the thing. I don't have to spend money to respond. Just file away, little buddy. It's your money.
Hey, where do you live now? You still on the East Coast?
Yeah, I'm in upstate New York. I'm in, for obvious reasons, I don't want to say where I am.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm in upstate New York. I grew up in just outside of Binghamton, New York, about an hour south of Syracuse. I grew up. They called it Little Italy where I grew up. That was one of the things everybody liked to toss at me, was that my family had quote-unquote connections. My hometown is the place where the big mafia bust happened in Appalachian, New York.
Sure.
Like my high school, to put it bluntly, my high school chemistry teacher and football coach's dad, that happened on his land.
Okay, yeah.
Really Italian part of the world where I'm from.
It's a small world, that's for sure. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things. It's like, that's one of the reasons, like, my own sisters won't answer me. So how do you explain your high school yearbook picture if you were in Long Island with the murderer? Like, you existed. People know you.
Well, what do you think? Your sisters, how come they don't want to come out and tell the truth? Do you think they're making money off this?
All three of my sisters are in the book as Ronald Defeo's stepchildren.
Fascinating. And that's impossible because you know who their fathers are.
Two of them, my two older sisters are in the books as his stepchildren. And my other sister is billed as his daughter. Because to bring it back home, remember, it was all a hustle, baby. And if Defeo had a kid, that kid could get the money. So that's why they started the tale to begin with. And then it just steamrolled from there.
And you haven't heard anything from Katzenbach or Osano in years, right? Since that lawsuit?
No. But I was ready to let it die with my mom. But now Rick Osuna, who wrote the book the night Defeo died, has a new little video blurb for it that the comments are off. And there's trendy new packaging. And I'm going to go ahead and give the man the $17 or whatever he wants, and I'm going to read it. And then I'm going to destroy it publicly again.
Okay, great, man. Hey, listen, is there anything you want to leave us with? You think we covered everything in the story, or is there something I'm leaving out?
Yeah, I had my say, and you were more than fair to me, sir.
Okay, thank you. No, I enjoyed this too. You're a good guy, man. I like you.
I appreciate that. All I want to say is you know, your fans out there that are interested in this, just one thing, fans. You're a fan, but it's about somebody's life at the other end of that tale.
It's so true.
And the Defeo family's been eating this for 40 years. The Lutz boys have been eating this. I've been eating it. Just remember, be gentle out there, fans. Be gentle. Oh, you know, just be gentle. Thank you.
It's so true, man, because, you know, you're one guy and you get 100 messages, and each one might be saying the same thing, too. A little, hey, you pronounced something wrong, and you got this little fact wrong, or, you know, it's just overwhelming. You know, people need to realize that people in the public eye are human beings. They have a life. They wake up, they have to eat breakfast, and, you know, take care of their kids, take their kids to school and stuff like that.
I was 15. Yeah, I mean, we have lives, as you open the program with. Your life was happening. We were hitting and missing. You know,
right.
There's a real life at the end of it. At the end of the day, you're like, again, I was 15 years old the first time a 30-year-old woman approached me over this. Whoa, what do you do with that? You know.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I would say. Just remember, children died, and there are families and people at the backside of this.
There you go, man. Peter Pisani, thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, then we had Peter Pisani, okay, and he contacted me because he heard the show we did with Miss Kaplan at Sachs. Very nice woman, and he had a little discrepancies there he wanted to correct. So anybody involved with this story wants to come back on the air with me, I'm thrilled to talk about this stuff all day long. I wasn't expecting this, man. Bigamy. He sent me a long letter. Hey, by the way, too, I wanted to say, too, when he mentioned the part about his girlfriend was dying when he was getting served with this paper, I know he didn't say too much on the air, but I can tell you that off the air, this had a huge effect on his life and something that was very upsetting to him. And I know this had a big effect, a tragic effect on his life, a traumatic effect. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages. I'll give you a little wrap-up and some more stuff after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Subash Technology.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Hey, don't forget 21 Financial. 21 Financial provides unparalleled personalized accounting services to a range of clients across New York, Houston, and Arkansas. From now on until April 14th, their sole focus is getting taxpayers the biggest refund possible on the money they earned. They're now mobile. You can't come to them. They'll go to you. With the capability to file in any state within the U.S., you can find them on Facebook. Book your appointment directly or call 903-265-8563. That's 903-265-8563. Call. As for Emily, she's the best. Get a free estimate of how much money they can double your refund. They're even going to advance you up to $6,000 on your refund there. And almightygold.com. You want to invest in gold? You don't have $1,500 to buy an ounce of gold. You can buy a tenth of an ounce of gold. It comes in a little carrot bar embedded into a little credit card sized card there with all kinds of digital, authorization, authentication, and watermarks, all kind of stuff on there, so no one can cheat you out of your gold. People, you got gold on you, man. It's like treasure at Sierra Madre. You don't want to lose your gold. You'll shoot your best friend. Humphrey Bogart, that's what happened with him. He went nuts there. But yeah, I think he had good reason to keep an eye on those two guys. But anyway, almightygold.com. Want to go into the gold business like Humphrey Bogart? You can contact us at almightygold.com and you become an affiliate, be in the gold business, buying and selling gold. You'll be a gold trader out there. And then if you want to invest in cryptocurrency, they're going to have cryptocurrency there backed by gold. So keep your eye on almightygold.com. A lot of stuff going on there. Great sponsor, almightygold.com. Here we go. And here we are at the Opperman Report. And what time? We got 9 minutes to go. Gee whiz. Well, let's see. Got a lot of good stuff coming up. Let me see what's coming up here. I did an interview yesterday about the Yorkshire Ripper. This gentleman in Ireland wrote a book. I'm going to read the book. He's telling me. Oh, my God. The real Yorkshire Ripper. What was the guy's name? I forget his name. Noel O'Gara. Noel O'Gara. He tried to get on the show once before, and then he started sending me these emails about the Las Vegas shooting, because Noel O'Gara is not an expert on the Yorkshire Ripper, where he lives in Ireland. At least he's close to it. But he's also an expert on the Vegas shooting. So I declined that wonderful diversion. And we had him on here about the Yorkshire Ripper. Very fascinating theory he has there. We ever get to it, I'm really not sure. Then I had Caleb Colley on the show telling us about this book he's read, and he's put the book back up on Kindle there. It's all about disappearing off the face of the earth. And the story goes, I'm going to have to tape a little bit more with him because he's a very slow storyteller. But the story is that it's good content, though. It's very interesting. About how the Irish Troubles back in the 60s and the 70s actually might have had an occult motivation behind them, and many of the people who disappeared and or died and were murdered in their homes and stuff like that could have been actually occult sacrifices that were covered up and attributed to the Irish Troubles there, the Troubles in Ireland. British occupation of Ireland there. Let's see, I'm about to do an interview right now. We're taping this right now on Tuesday afternoon. Tomorrow I got another 3-hour dentist appointment. Whoopee. Yay for me. Another 3-hour dental appointment. Isn't that great? And I'm going to be taping with Pierce Redmond in a minute. We're going to be talking about Johnny Boy Calley. Assassination there on Toad Hill, Staten Island. I happen to know the neighbor of the young man who shot Johnny Boy Calley and lived next door to him for 10 years. So we have a little inside scoop on that. And I try and bring in the inside stuff. Hey, no one else. You heard me ask the guy, right? Peter Pisani? You heard me ask him, does anybody else reported this before in the history of Amityville? No. Just you, Ed. And I get the guy was crying, man, about his, the guy had a serious loss in his life, man, over all this. I get him on the phone, we're chatting, we're joking. You got a great story, man. So if you like this kind of content and you don't want to see it wither away on the vine, right? Like Nineveh, right? Spit me out of a whale. Right? No potato juice over here, guys. It's at 12 o'clock in the afternoon as I tape this. I'm about to go live with Pierce Redmond, too. But if you like what you hear, right, you don't want to see me wither on the vine. Oh, God, six. You support me by going to the members section By the way, that show about the disappeared off the face of the earth, that's already in the Remember section. And I might just throw these other ones up there, too. And the Pierce Riverman show's going to go up there, too, as well. I gotta get some content up there quick and book some more guests here. It's been a nightmare over. I got another 3-hour dental appointment tomorrow. But then that'll be it for a while, because we're going to have an Easter break coming up. Vic has another speech thing this weekend. Not debate. The debate thing, by the way. She didn't make it to Nationals. And she was so devastated last Saturday night, that actually after she got home and she was in bed for a while, and she got up and she was crying again, and I just happened to get up out of bed, and she came to the door, and she, it was just horrible, man, because, she devoted so much of her life to this debate, and she never made it to Nationals. Where last year she could, she was so close. Last year she almost made it to Nationals. She almost made it the year before, as a sophomore, which is unheard of. But this year, there's just been so much, with her mother, and she's helping this friend who has this being abused at home. And then I had that whole thing, too, with that girl I was chasing down, trying to help her family out and save that kid's life. And then our lawsuit with her mother, over the college fund and the child support and all that. Hey, man, we've had a couple of months that have just been so damn brutal on us here that I don't think she had the focus, or the confidence, to go in after we got beat up so bad in court. I don't think she had the confidence to go in there and dominate the room with these debates. There was a little controversy, too. I'll tell you that story on the after show, if I don't forget. Maybe someone can remind me in one of the chat rooms, so you can message me. I know people love to do that during the show. There was a controversy. They wanted to disqualify me as a judge before my judge. Actually, they wanted to remove me from the bench before my debate began. But we fought them off. I was unaware of everything going on, but our forces fought them off to keep me reinstated in my position as debate judge. Anyway, I'll tell you that story later. I'll make a little note to myself, so don't message me. But if you want to support this show, you can go to OppermanReport.com. A lot of people have been going there lately rather than emailing me, which is good, too, because I do make a couple extra bucks if you do it that way. But sometimes we need it fast. So, you have a choice. You can go to OppermanReport.com. There's 200 shows there in the member section. So if you're enjoying the show tonight, there's a lot of fun stuff in there where I'm joking around and laughing. I'm not always in a bad mood, believe it or not. By the way, today is day 9 of the Daniel fast. No alcohol, no coffee, no sugar, no rice, no bread. Just fruit, nuts, vegetables, and beans and legumes. Legumes. There's legumes up in their hills with the gold. AlmightyGold.com. Anyway, you can donate. You go to OppermanReport.com and donate. We always appreciate that. There's even a little button where you can make a recurring donation every month. But those don't seem to work out at all. It seems like people, like they set it up and then the next month it's a failed donation because they don't have the money in their PayPal account. So, I don't know what to tell you about that. It's kind of disappointing when you get an email from PayPal and it says failed payment. You get your hopes up. Hey, I could buy some watery gruel this morning and feed myself. And then you see, no, it's a failed payment or even a cancellation. Oh, Ed, I hate you now. People will love me a month ago. They hate me now. I don't care. Anyway, you want to donate, we appreciate your donations. OppermanReport.com, or you can donate through the PayPal, OppermanReport@gmail.com. If you want to become a member, you go to OppermanReport.com, $74 for a year, $6 for a month, $20 for 3 months. You can do that there. Or you can contact me directly at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And I'll even do that for you. I'll do it $65 for 13 months. But if you want a quarter, I'll do it for $20 too. Or even, I don't want to do it monthly. That's too much work. Let me see. What else is going on? I forgot. Oh, if you want to sponsor the show. Ooh, guess what, guys? We can be back on KYAH, 540 a.m., Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. Okay? So this is your chance if you want to advertise, okay? Because I don't really want to get on there really bad. If you want to advertise on this show, if you've ever thought about advertising, this is the time to contact me because you'll get the same advertising rates, but we'll be on 5 days a week on AM radio covering the huge swatch of Utah where when people are driving from Las Vegas up to St. George, Utah, they got to drive through that corridor, man, it's traffic that goes through there every freaking day. It's enormous. We got 30 million visitors come to Las Vegas every year. How many of them bleed over there to Utah? I don't know how many, but I'm sure there must be a few. Like a couple of million, right? So great opportunity there. Reach a ton of people. And that's on top of what you get already. So we're talking like $500 for 10 weeks. You get a banner on the website. I promote you. I read your ad. I interview you. You get an interview, too. You get to come on the show. The last two chicken out. They don't want to come on the show. Car King doesn't want to do an interview, and AlmightyGold.com doesn't want to do an interview. They don't want to talk to me on the air. Okay? I'm not offended. I still promote this stuff. Great carts and great gold. And as a matter of fact, if you're smart, you could buy a cart from CartKing.com and then sell the gold from the cart. How's that? Huh? Good night.